Wild boars are becoming a nightmare across many states in the U.S., especially in California. According to statistics, these animals cause more than $1.5 billion in damages every year to agriculture, transportation, and natural habitats. In the Central Valley alone, countless corn, soybean, and wheat fields are torn apart overnight. Not only do they destroy crops, but they also boldly invade residential areas, damage landscapes, and even pose a threat to people. In response, the state government has encouraged farmers and hunters to organize regulated hunts to control the wild boar population. A friend of mine often joins these hunts, and this time, he invited me to come along. Without hesitation, I packed my gear and set off. Let's dive into this thrilling adventure together. On a field where the harvest was underway, we were almost certain the boars were still nearby. And just as we predicted, a massive herd of wild boars suddenly burst out into the open. With abundant food in the area, they had grown fat, strong, and full of energy. Our weapons were ready. From our concealed positions, we seized the moment and opened fire. The herd scattered in panic, but their hiding spots were now gone. After a volley of gunfire, the first trophies of the day were in our hands. Not stopping there, we pushed forward towards a cornfield on the hillside, a place often ravaged by wild boars. Wasting no time, we split into groups, flanking and surrounding them from multiple directions. At a decisive moment, I squeezed the trigger, and a massive boar dropped to the ground. And it wasn't the only one. Many others were still wandering the area. Clearly, this was the golden hour to continue the hunt. Everyone sprang into action, aiming to take down as many as possible. We continued heading up towards the dry, grassy patches near the hilltop. Here, the boars seemed relaxed, thinking no humans were around. But they were dead wrong. As soon as I spotted them, I quickly adjusted my scope, controlled my breathing, and fired, dropping another target cleanly. That heart-pounding feeling repeated itself over and over again, not just for me, but for my teammates too, as they kept bringing down more boars one after another. After such a strong start, we moved toward the grasslands in the middle of the valley. Along the way, a surprise awaited us. A herd of jet-black wild boars suddenly appeared, their glossy coats glinting under the sun. They seemed to sense something was wrong and bolted. But it was too late. I was already closing in. Now was the time. A single, precise shot, one kill. It wasn't just me. My teammates were racking up boar after boar as well. Safe to say, today we weren't going home empty-handed. The air grew cooler, the perfect time for the boars to leave their hiding spots to feed and drink. Their sounds blended with the breeze, and once again my gunshot rang out, sharp, decisive, and unbelievably accurate. Things started getting out of hand. There were just too many boars appearing at once, more than we could handle on foot. We quickly jumped into our ATVs, chasing and shooting while moving, and racked up even more trophies. From a long distance, I spotted a full-grown boar. But with my skills, it wasn't much of a challenge to bring him down cleanly.
Tamam, bırak kalsın.
As we moved into an area of tall grass, we noticed a boar hiding there. The moment we spotted him, I signaled to the dogs. They immediately surrounded the boar, creating the perfect opportunity for us to take him down. A fitting price for all the destruction they've caused. Winter is coming. The cold air makes the wild boar's natural food source scarce. In order to survive, the wild boars began to leave the deep forests, invading farms, fields, and even residential areas. In this situation, we could not sit still. Planning to hunt, control, and threaten the wild boars became more urgent than ever. After carefully checking our equipment, we set off, heading deep into the snow-covered forest. The space was so quiet that only the sound of the wind whistling through the trees could be heard. Strange footprints appeared on the snow. We stopped and observed carefully. It was the tracks of a herd of wild boars that had just passed by. Following the footprints, the whole team quickly moved, maintaining their formation, taking every step carefully so as not to make any noise. When we crossed a hillside, we discovered the wild boars wandering below. The opportunity had come. We chose a favorable position to attack, carefully calculating the distance and direction of the shot. The first shot rang out, but the bullet missed the target by 400 m. The explosion caused the wild boars to panic, scattering in many directions. Not letting the opportunity slip away, the whole team immediately chased and shortened the distance. The second shot, the two largest wild boars in the herd fell down on the spot, along with a few smaller ones. After the first attack, in order to avoid revealing our position, we quickly moved to the neighboring hill. Suddenly, a towering black figure appeared on the hillside. A lone wild boar was wandering around. This was an opportunity not to be missed. We immediately took up position and adjusted our sights. The gunshot rang out. The bullet hit the target. The boar was startled, staggered, and then used the last of its strength to run away, but couldn't go far. Following the tracks imprinted in the snow, we moved forward, step by step, tensely watching for any signs. Before long, before our eyes was the fallen boar, its huge body lying motionless in the white snow. Continuing the journey, The whole team moved cautiously through the deserted main road. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed by. It disappeared right behind the dense bushes along the road. Without hesitation, we immediately took up position, cocked our guns, and focused all our attention on the area ahead. Everything was silent, only the sound of the wind whistling through the trees. Then a very slight sound was it. Reflexively, I pulled the trigger. The bullet hit the target accurately. With no chance to escape, the wild boar collapsed immediately. However, an unusual sound rang out from the woods nearby. My instincts immediately told me to be alert. My heart pounding, I carefully approached. It was a herd of wild boars running everywhere. Without thinking any further, I tightened my grip on the gun, aiming straight at the target. Shots rang out one after another, tearing the air apart. The wild boars screamed in panic. When the smoke from the gunfire gradually cleared, half of the herd had collapsed, scattered everywhere. The remaining ones quickly ran away, disappearing behind the dense foliage. We can't let any target escape. The whole team is determined to pursue them to the end. The hurried footsteps cut through the bushes, following the remaining traces of the wild boar herd. Any target that appears is taken down. The thick layer of snow under our feet makes every step heavy, but nothing can stop our determination. The wild boar herd has scattered. Only the stragglers are trying to find a way to escape. Gunshots continuously rang out in the forest. The remaining wild boars were taken down one by one. Everything became quiet, ending a challenging but also fulfilling day of hunting. Tony, a close friend of mine, owns a large farm in the suburbs. He had complained many times about the wild boars that frequently attacked and destroyed his crops, causing considerable damage. The corn, potato, and cassava fields that he had tended for many days were suddenly plowed up. Unable to let this situation continue, I quickly accepted. A dramatic adventure was waiting for me ahead. I set off early in the morning, taking about 30 minutes to drive to the farm. On both sides of the road were vast green fields. In the distance were dense forests, where the wild boars could be nesting. Tony was waiting with a long-range rifle and an eager smile. We started our hunt in the cornfield near the farm. Looking at the torn corn cobs and the large footprints on the ground, I knew that the herd of wild boars had just visited here not long ago. However, it seemed that the herd had sensed danger and temporarily retreated. Following the trail, we discovered a wild boar foraging for food on a nearby hill. At a distance of 400 m, I gently raised my gun, adjusted the scope, kept my breathing steady, and pulled the trigger. The bullet whizzed through the air, hitting the target. The wild boar, weighing about 90 kilograms, was hit by the bullet, startled, and rushed away in despair. But it only ran a few dozen meters before it collapsed completely. We checked the first spoils and confirmed that the shot was completely accurate. As if empowered, we continued to move, searching for prey in the surrounding area. Suddenly, from the dense bushes, a wild boar weighing about 75 kilograms jumped out, rushing right in front of me at a terrifying speed. Reflexively, I immediately raised my gun and pulled the trigger without thinking. This was just the beginning. Realizing that the pigs often came to the farm at night, we decided to change our tactics. Ambush in the dark. When night fell, Tony and I chose the perfect hiding place. Behind the bushes near the farm, we equipped ourselves with thermal scopes to monitor every movement around. Not long after, black shadows appeared. The wild pigs had come. Waiting for them to let their guard down, we opened fire simultaneously. The wild pigs weighing from 80 kilograms to 110 kilograms were hit and fell on the spot. The others panicked and ran away, but we quickly moved, locking all directions, not letting any escape.
Hey, what you got, bud?
Through the scope, I saw at least 7 to 8 of them digging around the fence to try to escape, but it was completely useless. At midnight, when the gunfire had stopped, we checked our spoils. One unexpected result: the entire herd of wild boars was almost completely annihilated. After a night of fierce fighting, we returned to the farm to rest, preparing for the next day of hunting. The next morning, as the sun rose, we quickly moved up to the nearby hill, where Tony suspected there were still some wild boars left. As expected, a giant wild boar appeared. It was much larger than the others, weighing at least 120 kilograms, with a pair of sharp, threatening fangs. I carefully approached, kept my composure, aimed carefully, and pulled the trigger. The bullet hit the monster right in the neck, causing it to stagger, roar fiercely, and then collapse immediately. another target was taken down. After 2 days and 1 night of intense fighting, we had taken down more than 30 wild boars. Tony's farm could finally be at peace again. Although it was hard, the feeling of conquering nature and protecting the fruits of our labor was truly worth it. This was not just a hunting trip, but a dramatic adventure and an unforgettable experience. And for sure, if the wild boars come back, we will be ready to fight again.
Goodness gracious.
The chirping of birds echoed overhead, signaling a promising new day for the farmers who were starting to harvest their crops. But no one would expect that beneath those fertile fields, a danger was lurking. As the farmers began to harvest the golden corn, a strange sound rang out from the end of the field. A rough noise, as if the soil was being turned upside down. The corn plants were being knocked over. The sound of the harvesting machine's engine grew closer and closer, and this was when the culprit appeared, a group of wild boars who were frightened and ran away from the field.
In the forested mountains of the Pyrenees, France, where endless woods stretch across the land, a hidden threat lurks in the shadows. Giant wild boars. They're not just a nightmare for local farmers, but a real danger to the entire ecosystem. Over the past year alone, nearly 2,000 hectares of farmland in the Pyrenees have been ravaged by wild boars, causing damages of over €4 million. These animals don't just destroy crops, they attack livestock and pose a serious threat to human safety. We couldn't sit back and watch any longer. It was time to act. At the break of dawn, we arrived at the rendezvous point, a sparse winter forest. The bare trees opened up our field of vision, making it much easier to spot our targets. Once we found the perfect ambush spot, the entire team fell into silence, patiently waiting. Only the sound of cold wind rustling through dry branches broke the stillness. Then suddenly they appeared. A large herd of wild boars moving toward the forest's edge, led by a full-grown alpha with thick, black, bristly hair. It stood out sharply against the pale winter ground. Wasting no time, we all took aim and opened fire. The first shot hit clean. One boar dropped on the spot. But our real target was the leader. We immediately spread out to chase it down. Gunshots echoed through the woods as one by one the herd fell, including the dominant boar, the crown jewel of our hunt. The intense chase wore down the boars. They started to stagger, their pace slowing, no longer able to escape. This was our moment. I stopped, raised my rifle, and took careful aim. My breathing slowed. Finger on the trigger. Headshot. The bullet flew like lightning, ending it clean and fast. The success fueled our motivation. Spirits high, we split up to sweep the surrounding areas in search of more targets. And then, hidden in a dense bush, I spotted a flicker of movement, a shadow shifting. Without hesitation, I took the shot. The boar dropped before it even sensed the danger. We continued across the rolling hills, following fresh tracks that showed wild boars were becoming more and more active. From a familiar ambush position, I kept watch, waiting for the right moment, and when it came, I didn't hesitate. Shot after shot rang out, each one finding its mark. By afternoon, we moved toward a nearby mountain, rumored to be home to the largest boars in the region. And sure enough, they were massive, far beyond what we expected. They were also highly alert, forcing us to move with extreme caution, inching closer without making a sound. What many don't realize is that when cornered, wild boars can turn aggressive and fight back, making things extremely dangerous. Within minutes of coordinated action, the entire herd was neutralized, a truly impressive feat. Just as we were catching our breath and about to enjoy the victory, another boar suddenly burst out from behind a nearby bush. It all happened in a flash, but thankfully, one teammate was close and reacted instantly. One clean shot, the boar went down before it could even think about running. That quick reflex probably saved us from a very dangerous chase. After an intense day of non-stop action, we had racked up an impressive haul. The whole team agreed it was time to call it and head back. But just as we were descending the mountain trail, another herd appeared out of nowhere. Not wanting to miss one last chance, we quickly fell into formation, pouring all our remaining energy into the final chase. The pursuit stretched into the late afternoon, and finally, we succeeded, wrapping up a thrilling and emotional hunt. In Sweden, the vast forests aren't just home to moose and brown bears, they're also a breeding ground for one of the most destructive invaders: wild boars. With rapid reproduction, incredible adaptability, and near unbeatable survival instincts, these animals are becoming a nightmare for farmers. It's estimated that the wild boar population in Sweden has exceeded 300,000, a staggering number considering the country's arable land. In response, the Swedish government has loosened hunting regulations, allowing hunters to control the population year-round. And today, I'm taking you on an intense hunt through these wild woods. Let's get started. We had high hopes for today's hunt. My friends and I headed into the remote forests of southern Sweden, a hotspot for wild boar activity and the scene of constant damage to local farms. As we reached one of the most isolated spots on the mountain, we spotted a group of wild boars almost immediately. Without hesitation, we got into position. The first shots rang out, echoing through the woods. Although most of the boars scattered, a few didn't escape in time. We kept moving, scanning for new targets. Suddenly, a boar darted through the trees. I raised my rifle in an instant. Perfect shot. It tumbled and dropped to the ground, a clean takedown in a tense moment. While continuing our search, a group of wild boars suddenly burst out in front of us, likely startled by our presence. Reflex kicked in. I quickly aimed and fired. One target down. It wasn't the biggest, but it was enough to boost my morale for the battles ahead. The noise and scent of gunpowder clearly spooked the herd. They scattered in every direction. We split up and managed to take down a few more as they tried to flee. Lying low in ambush, I heard a faint rustle. A boar had entered my sights. From a good vantage point, I lined up the shot. One clean pull of the trigger, swift and precise. The target dropped instantly. Not the biggest prize, but a solid result. The sound of gunfire echoed through the forest, triggering more movement. Other boars began to appear. Every shot required complete focus. We aimed to drop any that showed themselves. With my trusty rifle in hand, I pushed through thick brush and spotted another wild boar. Chamber loaded, I steadied myself and pulled the trigger. Moments later, a few dark shadows darted through the bushes nearby. I tracked them and fired multiple rounds, adding more trophies to our tally. After a series of intense encounters, we pressed on. Luck was on our side today. Another boar moved slowly across an open patch. No way we were letting that chance slip by. A quick shot, and it was down. We immediately spread out to widen our search area. From time to time, gunshots cracked through the forest, a clear signal that someone in the group had just made another hit. You see, wild boars love dense, tangled areas, so we decided to sweep the surrounding underbrush, hoping to flush something out. Out of nowhere, a dark shadow charged straight at me, fast, frantic, and wild. Luckily, I was ready. I reacted just in time. A perfect headshot. The boar dropped mere inches away from me. Heart pounding. I knew I'd just dodged a real threat. No time to dwell on it. I had to stay sharp. Its pack could be close. And sure enough, there. This time, my shot was even quicker and cleaner. The hunt wasn't over yet. A large, fast wild boar tried to weave through the trees, looking for an escape route. I couldn't let that happen. One more gunshot rang out and the boar was down. After a long, exhausting day, all our effort had paid off. We successfully eliminated a good number of wild boars from the area. In the Grand Estate region of northeastern France, farmers are living a nightmare. In 2024 alone, statistics show that the damage caused by wild boars in the region exceeded 40 million euros, leaving hundreds of households penniless. These animals, which were thought to live only in the wild, have now invaded fields of corn, potatoes, grapes. Their habit of digging, tearing up the ground and uprooting vegetation turns fertile fields into desolate battlefields overnight. The invasion is becoming more and more daring as millions of wild boars multiply rapidly and adapt easily to the semi-urban, semi-rural environment. Although hunting is still taking place sporadically, with their lightning-fast reproduction and movement, controlling these animals is becoming a national challenge. Early in the morning, I arrived at the forest, fully prepared for the hunt. And sure enough, just minutes later, I spotted a group of wild boars, fully grown adults. In a tense moment, I raised my rifle, aimed carefully at one of them, and fired. The bullet flew straight, dropping the boar instantly. Not wasting a second, I quickly took cover in the trees, waiting for another chance to strike. Just a few shots later, I brought down a second boar, an outcome far better than expected. One wild boar managed to escape during the chaos, slipping out of my sight. But we were prepared. Another team member spotted just in time and delivered a precise, fatal shot. Later, the team continued searching nearby areas. The pursuit grew more intense as we entered a dense forest. One team member with precise instincts managed to ambush a herd of boars. These ones were particularly large. In that moment, his rifle roared. A single, well-placed shot brought down one of the boars. A perfect hit. It dropped right where it stood. I lay hidden, quietly observing every movement. A shadow flickered past, and I reacted instantly, raising my gun and firing several shots. Hunting these agile beasts isn't easy. After a short break, we pressed on. A group of wild boars darted across the forest like lightning. I didn't have time to aim carefully, but still took a few shots, hoping to hit something. It wasn't perfect, but luck was on my side. One of the boars went down. The rush of excitement and satisfaction was overwhelming as I saw the result of my shot. Clearly, this place isn't a bad spot for hunting wild boar. They seem to roam here often. So, the moment they appeared again, I opened fire. Everything went smoothly, and we added even more trophies to our hunting trip today. However, with the wild boar population spiraling out of control, we know we'll need to keep pushing harder.
Kalmış olması lazım bak. Git istersen biraz. Çok iyi. These are the most thrilling wild boar hunting moments ever. Each precise shot, breathtaking chase, and unexpected situations that make everyone's heart skip a beat.
Are you ready? Let's explore the top wild boar hunting moments with ADP Earth right now. Unbelievable. Just one bullet, accurate to the millimeter, right in the middle of the wild boar's forehead. A top shot that gives everyone who watches it goosebumps. Not every wild boar is easy to take down. This is a real monster. Big, fast, and extremely dangerous. But the hunter was in no hurry. He waited, moved smartly, and then... a brave shot. A series of kills that cannot be taken off. Unbelievable. Even after being shot, the wild boar still tried to get up with the intention of attacking the hunter. So dangerous. But at that moment, the pack of hunting dogs surrounded it, barking loudly, forcing the beast into a corner. This was a relentless chase. The wild boar sensed danger and ran forward at full speed. But the hunter did not give up easily. He accelerated, chose the right shooting point, and pulled the trigger. The wild boar still refused to yield. Continuous shooting. What a beautiful shot. A situation not for the faint-hearted. The wild boar suddenly changed direction, charging straight at the hunter. In just a split second, he dodged, turned 180 degrees, and immediately shot. Oh, unbelievable. Waiting is an art, and this hunter demonstrated it perfectly. He was patient, barely moving, blending into nature. And then, when the wild boar came into range, just one shot, accurate to the centimeter, the wild boar collapsed, rolling down the hillside. The wild boar panicked, weaving through the dense trees, trying to escape. However, the hunter did not allow that to happen, adjusted his aim, and then pulled the trigger decisively. An impressive kill. Hunting wild boars is not just a one-man job. This is a moment that shows the power of teamwork. The hunters coordinated perfectly, surrounded, cornered, and took down a huge herd of wild boars. What do you think of this ambush tactic? It's amazing, right? Too fast, too precise. A dramatic close-range kill. Wow, the hunter calculated precisely, just a second of delay, and this wild boar would have disappeared from sight. Look at how he kept calm and waited for the golden opportunity. It's amazing. This hunter's shooting skills made me admire him. Even the long distance and harsh weather conditions could not trouble him. So we have reviewed the most dramatic moments of hunting wild boars. Which scene impressed you the most? Don't forget to leave a comment below and click like and subscribe for ADP Earth so you don't miss the next exciting videos. Wild boars are no longer just a concern for farmers. Now, they are causing nightmares all over the world, especially in the United States. Wild boars not only invade land, but also threaten communities, destroy crops, and endanger people. And today, we are on the road again, continuing the dramatic battle with this animal. Follow our team of hunters on their wild boar hunting journey and witness the thrilling moments of the chase. Early in the morning, we were at the edge of the forest, ready for a challenging hunt. We went deep into the dense forest. Just a few minutes later, the hunting dogs picked up the scent of the prey. Their barks echoed throughout the area, signaling that the target was very close. Following the sound, I headed towards a clearing between the trees. Through the foliage, I saw a herd of wild boars running in panic, trying to escape the fierce pursuit of the hunting dogs. Quickly hiding behind a large tree trunk, I raised my gun, aiming at the largest wild boar in the herd. It was running fast, but I waited patiently for the right moment. When it was clearly in my sight, I took a deep breath, held the barrel of the gun steady, and pulled the trigger decisively. The loud sound of the gun echoed in the deep forest. A fatal shot.